All right, so I have 7:32, and I'm sure people will kind of trickle in as the night goes on. This will all be recorded and available on YouTube, so if you had to miss any part of it, feel free to check it out there. So this is Tech to the Rescue, and we're going to be answering your questions and talking about cool tools and best practices with our panel. We've got Heather Turner, our president of Central New York School Librarians and librarian at Fabius Pompey High School and Middle School. Yes. And Polly Farrington. She is the owner of PA Farrington Associates. She does all kinds of technology training and project development, and you guys are probably most familiar with her as the lady who runs Cool Tools for Schools. And we are going to have Richard Byrne on with us. He had a childcare conflict, so he'll be joining us in just a little bit as soon as he can hand off the baby. So we're going to start with some of your questions relating to Google Tools, because Heather knows everything about Google Tools, so we figured she'd have that pretty well covered. So just to kind of like kick things off, I know we've got some people joining us who are brand new to Google Apps for Education. So for someone who's brand new, just got Google Apps for Education, what would you consider like the most basic and critical functions? What would you say is important to master first? So I'm going to mute myself for your answers.
I would say that one of the most important things for management of all things Google is for sure to learn Classroom, because I have found that that has been a tremendous tool in helping manage all of the different documents and all of those items. I think that someone coming from the Microsoft Office kind of world isn't going to be shocked by how docs and slides work. So I think that Classroom has been, the new school that I am in is rather at the beginning of their Google journey. So that has been exceedingly helpful to them for the management of information, because it's just that communication tool that is really needed. And I'm gonna move myself for a second because my cat is really thinking that I need to talk with him. Do you have anything to add, Polly? I need to think.
Oh, am I unmuted now? I guess I am. Yeah, I would think Google Classroom would be a great place to start. And it makes me crazy that as someone who isn't in a K-12 setting, I can't use Google Classroom. So someone did give me a sneak preview of it, so I was able to test it out, and I love it. So I think you're right on there with the place to start. And as you said, docs and slides and such aren't so different than Microsoft Word and PowerPoint that they'd have big problems with that. So what are the other popular apps that people are using that are in Google Schools?
I really like Share to the Classroom, which if you don't have GoGuardian, which allows you to push websites out to the students, especially your younger students, I have found that exceedingly helpful, because it cuts down on that time of having to type in websites and those type of things. So installing that extension has been pivotal for my elementary and kind of lower middle school students.
Yeah, how does that work?
You can also post it in, like, say, your Google Classroom, but to push it out immediately and also have the students be able to push resources back to the teacher has been really cool.
So how does that actually work?
So they have the extension right next to their address bar as they would, and if they click on that extension, it shows all their Google Classrooms, and they can click on their Google Classroom, and then they can push a resource, like say that's on their screen, to the teacher, and vice versa. So like I could push it out to all of my students so that they're all on the same website at the same time. if they're part of that Google Classroom. So it's just like awesome. It updates frequently. So that's another conversation with students, that when you see that, you know, triangle, it means that you need to update permissions on something. So I love it. I haven't gotten all of my new staff to see it, but we have a Google user group meeting in my school on Thursday, so it's definitely something that I'm going to share with them. Like I said, not as pivotal for your high schoolers, but still helpful. This is an extension, Molly. It's right in the Chrome Web Store if you just search for Share to Classroom.
That sounds really great. What you mentioned, Go Guardian.
Yeah, Go Guardian is actually a filtering program that works with Chrome. It's a Chromebook, Chrome web browser filter. But what I think is most powerful about it is the ability to push things like Share to Classroom does, but be able to see what your students are doing in every single tab that they have open. It is a paid product, so it's not free. But the analytics that you can get, whereas where the student is, how much time they're spending on each browser window. I mean, for me as a librarian, I see it powerful in being able to suggest websites to the students, to send them a message without, and them sending a message to me without them feeling embarrassed because I noticed what they were doing. You know, those really shy, introverted students. I'm reminded of Deb McHugh shared with me the book Quiet, and talking about introverts. So I'm kind of hyper aware of those introverts now, whereas myself being one, you wouldn't know, but professionally, definitely extrovert. Personally, definitely an introvert. So trying to think of ways for those students that are very shy to have that ability. So go for a librarian, Go Guardian. I'm really excited. Last year, my previous district tested out Imperial, which is another filtering system, and it did not work well on the Chromebooks, so I wasn't really happy with that. But I did like the opportunity to say to a student, check out this resource that was in a computer lab, so not even near me, to help them. But they were working on a project, and the teacher was cool with that. So, I mean, for a librarian, these filtering issues, they seem so negative, but they really can have such a positive impact. So if we can focus on that positive, I think that we'd be all better off.
I love that you could push things out to students that are in other classrooms and other locations. Talk about being embedded elsewhere. That's really cool. I like that. Always on hand.
Yeah, I feel like we have to be like that as a librarian, because we're going to become obsolete if we don't find more ways for us to become relevant.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the ways of kind of moving up that SAMR model of not just substituting what we used to do, but expanding and transforming what we can do because of technology. You know, that's a really good example. And then you mentioned you have a Google user group at Fabius Pompey?
Yeah, it's something that I started because a couple of teachers came up to me and said, you know, I just like the opportunity to be able to talk about this stuff. You know, not like in a formalized training, just, you know, a place to share. And so I created a Google Classroom for it, and we're going to try to meet at least once a month, if not twice a month, depends on what works for the teachers. But I mean, I have about 15 teachers that are coming on Thursday, and it's a very small district. So, I mean, I'm really excited, and I'm excited for it to be a true user group in that I'm not in charge. It's a conversation, and I think we learn so much better not doing that direct instruction, sharing with each other. Yes, you can. Share to Classroom does work on any platform as long as you're running Chrome. Correct, Katie. So yeah.
And send stuff back to you and share to Classroom, they have to install the extension as well?
I only heard the last bit of that because you muted yourself.
Molly asked for the share to Classroom to work back and forth. The students have to install the extension as well? Correct.
It can be installed at the Google administrator level. In Solvay, when I was there, we did that. We had it installed on all the students' machines, but they would have to update it to make sure that it's updated.
Yeah, that is one thing that has come up. You know, our district just in the past month or so changed the procedure for adding extensions because someone installed something that completely crashed the entire system. It was called Unicorn Apocalypse and caused all kinds of problems. So, you know, it's a good conversation to have with your tech people about, like, you know, here's this thing, here's why we should push it out. Here's all the stuff we can do with it. Let's see.
Molly, it does update often, and when I mean often, I mean probably every other week. So, I mean, it just, all you have to do is click on the 3 dots in Chrome, and then just click on it says it needs to update, and it updates. It just, it's like one click. So, it's really not too bad of an update.
All right, so we had several questions about just managing shared documents in Google Drive. That seems to be something that's really overwhelming for people. Do you have any advice or tips for keeping track of everything?
You can go right ahead, Polly.
I'm not sure what what's the problem with managing them?
When you have a lot of documents shared to you, they kind of come in the order that they're shared to you. They're not sifted or sorted, really.
Oh, okay. So there's no way. So you have to go in and sort them yourself into folders and things like that. Is that they just sort of pour in like the mail?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard problems with that. I don't know if there's any magic ways. Are there any extensions that help with that? I know some people have recommended things like making sure that they're labeled in a logical way so that when you sort them by name, they come out the right way. So maybe year and assignment, or year and classroom, and then somebody's name, so that they sort, if you sorted by name, they would sort in the right order. I know I try to name things when I name my own documents logically so I can sort them alphabetically and get them in the right order, but getting kids, I suppose, to label things properly would be a lot of work.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the question. We all probably have like 500 documents in our shared folder that are titled untitled document because the kids haven't bothered to give it a name.
Yeah, well, there's the answer. Yeah, you have to make them label them somehow, which, as you said, I've got a lot of those as well. I've got an awful lot of test 1, test 2. So I don't think there's any magic answer. Google's not doing it for us. It's no different than our hard drives with unorganized documents. So no magic answer. Sorry.
I would add that you can actually add all of those documents to Google folders. So they will stay in the shared with me, but you can add them to your drive. And so I think folders are extremely important. And starting that organization as soon as possible. I mean, it sounds like third graders are starting to get Chromebooks. That's about the lowest level. Starting that folder process, we have the students create folders for their homework and all these different folders. So it's just a different kind of folder. So I feel like if we start them early, it will help. I mean, we used to spend time in school. I know that I did. My binder for science, it had to be in a certain order and the convention had to be the same. I mean, it seems silly, but it's kind of the same skill that we have to teach them. I mean, I admit it, there's a lot of documents that I don't have in my folders, but having changed districts, the one thing that my goal is that when I started, I have all my folders and I try to be really good about putting stuff in there. And I admit it, I use the Google search. It usually finds what I'm looking for. If we can get the students to do those naming conventions, exactly like Polly said, decide what your naming convention is going to be. And then I think that should help. Like when I'm doing Noodle Tools projects, I make sure that the first thing that's there is their last name and then their project name. So I mean, we get into that process, and I think it's a process. I mean, we need to do it as well, as well as students.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of an extension that would allow for filtering as items come into your shared folder, just knowing that exists in Gmail. I don't know of one offhand, but it definitely is something to look for, just because I know the capacity is probably there.
We should get one of our kids on that, Yeah. They're creating apps.
Mm-hmm.
Some kid did that thing on Facebook. I mean, some college students did that thing on Facebook where it gets rid of all the, well, supposedly gets rid of all the not accurate news.
Yeah, so that was great. And just to kind of wrap up that point that you guys just made, that technology can't fix a behavioral problem. Not that it's a problem, but sometimes habits and just best practices are just as important as the tool you're using. So that's a really good point. Let's see. I had several people wanted to know just some kind of fun, creative ideas. How are people taking advantage of Google Apps in the library specifically? So Heather or Polly, or even people in the chat, if you just want to kind of shout out some great examples that you've seen, let's just take a few minutes to share.
I'm definitely using Google Classroom a lot in the library. Any type of club, any type of activity that I feel that it's going to be sustainable, I'm doing it. Like I have a robotics club and we have a Google Classroom. The Google user groups, I mean, I'm doing it with teachers as well as students. I am utilizing that a lot, using things like Project Ignite, which is a Google Classroom type item for Tinkercad, because Tinkercad, actually you have to be 13 years old in order to sign up for it. So Project Ignite is a way to have it monitored by the teacher and have classrooms in there. So that is, I've been using that in the library. I had a 3D printing Google Classroom last year. So I'm definitely, for Google, using that a lot. I use slides a lot, slides in Canva, as my replacement for Publisher. So for any type of library advertising or anything like that, have the students do it too. Do you have anything to add, Polly?
Oh, yep. Sorry, I just unmuted myself. Yeah, I was going to say slides, because slides has so many different things you can do with it. Reports, and you can do little screencasts, record over it to do a screencast, and do an audio of your report. And there's just so many things you can do with slides. I think that's a fun application. And the classroom again, since I haven't played with Classroom. I need to get a job in a school. I think the idea of using it for clubs and stuff is fabulous. What about Google Sites? Is Sites actually part of Google Apps for Education?
It is. And it just updated the week before. Unless you were an early adopter, it just updated the week before Thanksgiving.
Ah,
So I have found for web design classes, it's pretty simplistic.
mm-hmm.
Definitely easy to use for like a portfolio for students or something simple like that. But I am doing I'm collaborating with a web design class right now, and it just is not good enough to do that. I'm gonna be using Wix for that because they've already HTML coded, and so we're moving on to actually, they know the code. So I'm using MailChimp, and Sue Kowalski knows that I love MailChimp. So I think that's what you're alluding to. She loves S'more, so we're the S'more versus MailChimp friends. I love MailChimp because I like the analytics that I get. I do a tech bite, which I haven't done in like 2 weeks. It's coming out, people, I swear. I just been busy. So I like the analytics that I get. I know exactly who reads it. I think that it's important for us as librarians to share out our knowledge in as many ways as we can. So I definitely use that in the library. This is kind of silly, but I mean, I use Brainy Quote a lot because I put a quote on my board outside the library every single day, and I can't tell you how many people pay attention to that board. So remembering that even though we're talking about tech, sometimes the best tech is no tech. Realizing when we should use tech and when we shouldn't. I know, Sue, I am saying this. You hear this. These are words.
Have you ever used the MailChimp has another product called Tilty, Tilty. It's a very simple newsletter program.
I have not.
It's a freebie also. I mean, MailChimp's not totally free, but it is if you don't have too many.
I haven't had to pay anything.
For most of us, you wouldn't have to pay. Tilty is another very, very, very simple newsletter tool, and MailChimp bought it up. So it's kind of a cool one to look at, and it's Tilty.
Cool. So, I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah, because email newsletters really are, that's what people open or don't. But so
yeah, I mean, the analytics, does it do the analytics? Because that's what I really like about MailChimp, because I want to make sure that it's worth my time to do.
I think it does offer analytics. I looked at it recently, and I think it does offer some analytics since it is part of the MailChimp family. So, but I also like S'more. So, Sue, I like S'more also.
S'more is good. S'more is good.
If you get into using MailChimp, be prepared to do a little bit of testing just to make sure that it's kosher with your school's filter. When I first started doing my MailChimp newsletter, it just wasn't making it to everybody. So I ultimately, I created a mailing list that was just me, and I do a draft and send it to myself, and then I email it to the school's distribution list, which number one, keeps my mailing list up to date without me having to do anything. And then I use Sidekick, which is another extension to track my analytics as far as clicks and opens. So just kind of a MailChimp hack if it's not working quite right with your email system. All right, I think we've got...
Sue Kowalski, yes, S'more and MailChimp can coexist. They can. I do use S'more.
Okay, there was a question a few minutes ago that I kind of missed. Are either of you familiar with Sway, which is an Office product, and is there any free Google equivalent to that?
Yes, I've looked at Sway. Have you looked at it, Shan?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't, we're not a Microsoft, an Office school, but I know that you can get Office for free online if you're an educated school. So, because because Minecraft is now part of Microsoft because they bought it, so you can get an account if your district signs up, and then the teachers can get free accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not used Sway a lot because there's so many other free tools.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly what it looks like, but I use it as one of the digital storytelling tools in the Cool Tools workshop, in the digital, as a presentation tool, because it has a nice flow to it. If I recall, is that the one that goes horizontally across the page? You can't see me waving my arms. I can't remember.
I think it goes vertically too.
It's the vertical one. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's the vertical one.
Okay. Yeah. There's another one that goes horizontally, but it's a great tool. It's fun. And it's just yet another different way of using a presentation tool with pictures and text and such. So I think it's a fun tool to play with. It'll appeal to some people.
I do think it's important to know, Holly was kind of talking about this, that we can't just have students be Google. I think that we also need to have them be comfortable in the Microsoft sphere, because that is what business is still using. And I'm not saying that it's not going to change in the near future, but business tends to be kind of slow to change, as well as our good friends in the academic realm don't tend to change all that quickly, even though they tell us that we're not teaching them the correct things. I find kind of ironic. But I mean, you have your educational institutions, obviously, that are not the same as that. You know, that Morrisville is doing some very innovative things, but our general liberal arts education is still lecture. It's still looking at a Microsoft Word document. So I think we need to teach them both, because they need to be versatile. Versatile tech users.
Sorry, I just went away to look at Sway for a second. And also the Adobe stuff. I would say, in addition to that, the tools that Adobe puts out, the same type of argument for learning more than just Google stuff, so that when they get into college and get into the workplace, they're familiar with a variety of things. And also just the skills of being able to hop from one tool to another without having any stress, which is one of the things that I always say about the Cool Tools class, that the goal isn't for you to come out with 1 million tools in your toolbox, although that's nice, but it's mostly to have people come out of the workshop feeling comfortable saying, hey, that's a new tool, I'm going to try it out. Might be fun. I can figure it out. If I can't figure it out, then I'll go on to something else. So I think we need to instill that same confidence in our students.
And in addition of that, talking about grit and having students, just because it doesn't work the first time, that we need to keep trying, because somebody created this tool, so it does something. Not all tools do everything.
Right, and being able to put them together, one tool after another. Oh, go ahead, Kay.
Just before it gets lost in the conversation, Doreen had commented that, you know, when we're all creating our school websites, Google Sites, she was questioning whether that would give us the ability to password protect our database page, which I know is a concern for all of us. And I was just going to ask Heather, because I have not used Wix. Does Wix have the option to password protect?
It does. It's having some issues right now, so I'm working with them to get past that. So like I'll like unpassword protect it for like an hour when I'm working with a class, because it works and then it doesn't work. So I am working with Wix to fix the problem, but yes, it does. But Katie, you did a great idea with using a Google Doc that's only viewable within the organizational structure. So that's also embedding just a Google Doc is a great option for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and mine, I had done that with a Google site, but Kate Shanahan did it with literally an Excel, or not Excel, but a Google Sheet spreadsheet, and it worked just fine. So there's creative ways around it. Okay, and before we move on from the Google stuff, just out of curiosity, have either of you had a chance to play with the new grading functions in Google Forms, and how do you think that that compares to some of the extensions that were available for that in the past?
I have. I love it. It's so much easier than at least the turnaround. For me, I didn't find oh, I'm forgetting what the most popular one that I was using before is called. But it's so much easier than some of the other ones that have come out, like Doctopus, and it was through Doctopus that did it. And I find it so simple. You put in the point values of the items, you then decide which one's right. It can get a little confusing on which view you're on, whether you're on the view of the point of the question or editing the question. But I was able to, in 15 minutes, have a quiz ready for a teacher who was, and we did it together, have it ready for the next period. I couldn't have done that in anything else. So to me, the speed and the lack of needing a lot of direction in using it. So that's my comment on the new forums. Love it.
I haven't tried it. I would love to try it. Is it only in Google Classroom that you can do that?
That I do not know.
When did it come out?
I'd say like middle of summer.
Oh, I bet it's only, well, I'll have to look into that one. That sounds great. Oh, you're muted, Katie. No, you're not.
My poor little brain is just done. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, kind of what Polly said about just gaining confidence and being able to try new things, not be intimidated, feeling confident that you have the knowledge to evaluate a new tool. What are some of the kind of common mistakes or pitfalls that you see people struggling with when they're trying to adopt or choose a new technology?
They're afraid to fail. I think that, I'll give a classic example of my willingness to try new things. I was gung-ho about the new EDU version of EasyBib. I was really excited about it. It was going to be free. It was going to be awesome. I did it with a health class, and the note-taking function is terrible. It is awful. There's a reason why it's free. But Flubaroo, that was it. Sorry, side note. Flubaroo, that was what I was talking about before. And Quizzes is available even if you aren't a GAF school. Okay, back to what I was talking about. I lost my train of thought. Katie, tell me what I was talking about. It's gone. Unmute yourself.
Good thing I was muted just then. You were talking about people being afraid to fail.
Oh yeah, thank you. It was gone. I'm sorry. My brain is a sieve. It's 8:06. Yeah, I think that people need to be willing to try it out with kids, because what's the worst thing that happens? We start over the next day. I mean, I feel like teachers are so afraid that if something doesn't work, that it's over. The whole project is screwed up. And I see it as we learn that this tool does this really well. And in some cases, you can't test out a product until you do it with kids, because of the function of the product. I mean, I created a project for myself in CNYSLibs, and it worked out just fine. It was wonderful. It worked just perfect. I showed the teacher. We were so excited about it. And then what happened that I had no idea, I couldn't comment on an individual note. Whereas in Noodle Tools, I can comment on a specific note. I could only have a running conversation of the student's entire project. So I was like, never use it again, but love for just making a bibliography. So I learned that I really like that for a bibliography, but I don't really like it for the entire research process. Because a lot of teachers really like CNYSLibs, and trying to tell them that they shouldn't use that anymore was not going to happen because they really like it. So, but if I show them both tools and I say, this is what I really like for Noodle Tools, and if you use Noodle Tools, you are going to have higher quality research. That's important to them. So it's just depending on who you're talking to. And I also tend to try out things with teachers that I know won't flip out. You know, you always have those teachers that you know are going to be like, it's all right, it's all good, it's all good. But that ability to not being afraid to fail, I think is what our students need to see, and also what we need to see in ourselves. The students are afraid to fail because they never see us fail.
I would so agree. And I love your idea of testing things out with teachers that you know are going to go along with it, because I see that a lot in classes with adults. I've been teaching adults for over 20 years, and they're so afraid to fail. And I am too. I mean, we all, adults, we're just not used to failing in public. So I think the more now I'm totally not afraid to fail in public now, but in the past I would have been. And that's what I see in the Cool Tools class too, is I see people who are worried about not getting it right. And even assignments this year, people are turning in saying, oh, I hope I did this right. I hope I gave you what you needed. And maybe that's just new people. They haven't quite gotten into the whole way the class works yet, but I totally agree. We need to show our students that, oh, it didn't work, let's try something else, or why don't you try this and we'll try that, and let's figure it out together. Because you can't figure out every little detail initially and write a handout with step-by-step bullet points and have everybody step through the handout, because it's going to change. You know, in the next 10 minutes, the system could change. So you've got to know how to be nimble and change quickly and test things out and do something different tomorrow, as you said. So, and there's always going to be people who, and I hope, I shouldn't say this publicly, I hope they retire soon. The people who are my age and older, no, I shouldn't be ageist, because there's some younger people too who don't want to test things out and they're afraid to fail. I think they need to get into another profession. Oh, there, I said it. Is this being recorded?
It is. But I really like, Holly, that you said nimble, because I think that that's a really good term to use. I mean, I have a teacher that is my age that I came in, and they have their wonderful spiral notebook of all the how they do their citations. I mean, we're in 2016, and they did it last year. So, I mean, and Sue Kowalski did something in that she was using, I think, S'more, and she was also using Canva. And so she was actually in the class having the students decide which one they liked better. And I think that those are so authentic. And I think that that word authentic is really important for our students right now. And in fact, the web design class that I'm helping with, I suggested that we actually go out to businesses and solicit if they want their website redone or they want a website. Because creating a website of all about me or creating a random puppy website is not authentic. That's not what they're going to have to do in the real world. So our students are living in a global world, a global market, and we have to utilize that. I mean, they can look up the answer in 25 seconds or 5 seconds or 1 second, you know, making our projects ungoogleable.
And I like that you brought up global connections. That's something I was thinking about earlier that just takes it off in a slightly different direction. But I wonder if people are aware of the, I think it's the International Library Network, InterLibNet, where you can, you've heard of it, Heather? It's something you can sign up for as a librarian and be partnered with somebody else elsewhere in the world. And for 3 or 4 months, you share ideas and projects and notes and learn from each other. And I just think that's such a fabulous network. And I wish more and more people would do it, especially school librarians, because I think as school librarians, my sense is that a lot of people are kind of isolated in many places. You're the only one in your school. And I know we have good networks regionally and in the state, certainly, and around the country. But I would just love to see more people get involved in the international scene. And it's as it is with our students, it's good modeling for them, and it's just so easy to do now. So InterLibNet, I think, is the, I'll find the URL and post it. So sorry, I took that off in a different direction.
That's
Unmute
actually
yourself,
perfect, because that ties right into the next question. We had some people ask, they wanted to establish a nice set of go-to websites for learning about new and emerging technology. So kind of describe your PLN. What sites do you rely on? Where do you go to learn enough about this stuff to feel comfortable jumping in with it?
Twitter! I do have a Feedly, and I have a lot of blogs that I do follow as well, including Free Tech for Teachers, which I love. But Twitter hashtags like EdTech and TL Chat and EDU Chat, there's different chats. Ditch the Textbook is a really good one that's pretty active on student engagement. And I don't always do librarian ones. I just do technology ones, or just innovative tech education. So I have a whole list of them that I will give to Katie so that she can put it in the notes. But I have a lot. And I don't look at them all the time. Twitter can be kind of overwhelming. So I look at it when I can, and I have followers of, you know, it's really who you follow. I follow Polly. And I follow Richard Byrne. You know, I follow all of these people that help me be the best librarian that I can. I could not do. I mean, I'll pose a question out on Twitter, or I'll post it out on Facebook. Yo, I just painted my green screen. They just painted my green screen room. What light should I get? Nobody's answered that question yet. Still waiting. But I did ask the question. So just, I mean, the world is our resource. What an amazing time we're living in.
Totally agree. Twitter is my go-to place as well. I honestly don't spend as much time there anymore, just chattering. But if I have a question, I go there, I post it, I dip in now and then and try to answer other people's questions, just to, you got to pay it back. And I also just use it as my main search resource when I'm looking for new tools. I'll go in and search under TL Chat and add in a keyword for something I'm looking for. So that's one of my first stops for any kind of resources. For filtering out some of the stuff in Twitter, just to get kind of a daily update, I've really been using Nuzzle lately. It lets you put in who you're following on Facebook and who you're following on Twitter, and it pulls out the things that have been most tweeted from those people. And there's a lot of other filters. You can filter it by friends of friends. You can pop in the lists you've made of people on Twitter. So if I really don't want to do anything with libraries, I can go and look at what all my gardening buddies are tweeting about when I need a break. But Nuzzle, Nuzzle, It's a freebie filtering tool for Twitter. Did you mention looking to the future too, for scanning the horizon and that kind of stuff as well, knowing what trends are coming down? I can't remember. That was a question.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was a question.
Okay.
Yep. Right into that.
Okay, the Horizon Report is the place where I like to look at first. It's put out by New Media Consortium and God, my mouth's getting dry. NMC, and it's called the Horizon Report. They put it out once a year for K-12 and for higher ed, and it looks at what tech and what trends and what challenges and opportunities there are in the next 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, and then they do I think a 5 to 6 year time frame as well. So you can kind of look. The fun thing to do is to go back and look at the old ones. So look at 5 years ago and see if we've actually gotten there yet. So those are great reports to skim. I'm never going to get to read all 60 or 100 pages of them, but they're good to skim and see what is coming down the pike.
I was kind of like, in terms of emergent technology, I also was kind of, it kind of linked my brain in that eventually most of our schools are close to becoming one-to-one. So what does that mean for librarians? You know, creating a different kind of space for students to engage in material. I mean, I'm still finding that students prefer a paper book. I can give them a million information about Overdrive, and they still want to read the book. I mean, I do have students, and I'm trying to do really well with Overdrive because I trained them all, and they're liking it. But they still really do like that paper book. I mean, they'll go to Overdrive if I don't have the paper book. So I guess that would be my question for all of us, would be what we need to remain relevant in a world of one-to-one where everything is at their fingertips. That collaboration with the teacher is so important.
I think that's a really fantastic point. One-to-one is got the potential to change everything, hopefully. If we use all these Chromebooks that we're getting just as another form of notepad, then we've wasted a lot of money. So thinking about how we're using our spaces and, again, taking it to the higher levels of that SAMR model, not just substituting or augmenting, but actually rethinking and transforming our teaching. And obviously, our spaces have to transform too. So that's a really good point. So we have about 10 minutes left. I don't want to write him off, but I'm wondering if Richard decided that it wasn't worth joining us at this point. I have not received an update from him. So I'm just going to go into some of the specific questions about tools that people had. And if you're able to answer them, awesome. And if not, then we'll just keep moving. So right off the bat, what app or tool is your current favorite? What are you just in love with right now?
The extension that I downloaded over the summer that I am using like all the time, because it's really annoying to have to like go, all right, I'm going to Google Drive, and then I'm going to search for my thing, and then I'm going to go. Black Menu is an extension that you actually just click on, and it's like a little pop-up of your Google Drive and your Gmail and like all of those Google tools right there for you. And I'm seriously loving that. That's my first one. I have many.
What was that? Black Menu?
Correct. Black Menu.
I'm going to write that down. What's my favorite? I keep going back to my golden oldie of Evernote. That's my favorite tool. Only because everything is there. It's not sexy, it's not new, but I use it for everything. If I can't find it in Evernote, then I probably didn't write it down. although I do sometimes write things down in other places, and then that really confuses me. So Evernote, and trying to think of something new that I've tried recently. I guess Nuzzle is one of the ones that I've been getting into using more, even though I've had it for probably 6 months or more, using that a lot more. Oh, I tried out the new Google photo scan thing today. Have you seen that one yet? It came out 2 or 3 days ago. And it's an app for, I think it's out for iPad, iOS, and Android, and it scans old photographs beautifully. I scanned an old postcard that I had hanging around, and it was better than the postcard. So Google Photo Scan as an app. That was a fun one today. Back to you, Heather, or Katie.
All right. My students have been really using, and I think that Noodle Tools, in my opinion, needs to get an extension that is workable, because my students are using Cite This for Me, because they can be on whatever website they're on, and it actually does the citation for them. So, you know, I am getting them to use Noodle Tools, and I think that eventually I'll get them all there. But I think if we had some kind of extension that would cite it, I think it's really, really, really needed. Because our whole region has, our school library systems, thank you, Doreen, has purchased Noodle Tools for us. But I mean, I think that would be a game changer for adoption of it in our area. So Cite This for Me, and I will just add an additional one that's very, very quick, which is called Color Pick Eyedropper. Whenever it's going back to web design, I find a color that I really like and I want to match it, so I need to know the hexadecimal number of it. I know this is getting a little geeky. Sorry, I'm a geek. What can I tell you? But I want to know what color it is, and so because I want to be consistent with my website. So all it does is tell you what the hexadecimal color number of a color is. Yeah, I'm a dork. I know.
That's awesome. I can't tell you how many times I've sat there and like clicked around trying to like find the perfect match. So I'm definitely going to download that immediately. All right, we had someone looking for easy video editing apps for elementary. Any recommendations?
I do. This was one of the things I wrote down. And I originally looked for it because I was looking for a chroma key app. And it does that. It is $2.99. It's called Green Screen by Do Inc. And it is so easy to use. You drag and drop and can easily cut things. And green screen is native to the app. For schools, I find that it's very difficult for us to buy in-app purchases. It's almost impossible. So I usually have to find an app that either I pay for it outright or it's free, because in-app purchases don't work out for education for the most part. And in Solve it didn't, because that's why I got the app. So it's a great app. It's so simple to use. I mean, it's great for elementary. It's great for high school. It's just a really simple app to use. And you can just video edit with it. You don't need to use the green screen function. So I really like that. I also like the WeVideo app and website for video editing. That'll do the green screen as well, just because that's why I was looking for it, because I have a green screen room now, I'm telling you. And that one, if you do it under the timeline view, storyboard view, very easy for elementary. Very easy for elementary. I mean, they are going to have to be able to somewhat read visually, but it's really very simple, and it has Google integration. WeVideo will let you export for free 5 minutes, which for most kids that's fine. They're not going to do any more than 5 minutes a month. So for a book trailer, And that's 5 book trailers in a month for a kid, you know, so it actually, the free version works out very well. Doesn't do green screen for free. But I do like it. I use WeVideo all the time. I love it. Does that help? I think it was Molly that asked that question.
My answer to that was going to be go to Free Tech for Teachers, because there was recently he had a post there recently. But WeVideo, that sounds great. I got to look into that. I'm going to be adding all these to the Cool Tools lessons, so you'll see them there soon.
No, that's a great outcome of professional development like this, if you can take some stuff back and just keep on spreading the knowledge. Let's see.
Oh yeah, you were Bitstrips, Molly. I have not used Bitstrips. I mean, I've used Bitstrips in a not school appropriate way. Not for school, but so what is your project that you're doing, Molly?
What was submitted through the sign-up sheet was she's looking for something to take the place of Bitstrips, needs to be able to create an avatar with specific hair and eye colors for a genetics project. And we're not sure if the student accounts in their district are able to add extensions. So she
what about
thought
like a
maybe
Vokey?
I
mean, you would have to talk for it, but I mean, there's a lot of different options for like hair color and like that. I don't know.
Any thoughts, Polly?
I was trying to remember, what's the tool? Oh, I can't remember this name. I'm thinking of the avatar thing. I guess it wouldn't, you could just create it's got an avatar, a talking avatar on top of a background that you add. You can add your own background. Or
yeah, that's a Vokey.
Yeah, no, it's Vokey-ish. Yeah, I can't think of the name of it. I'll have to go look at my list of tools. I'll look while you talk.
You cannot print a Vokey, Molly, because it's animated. I don't know. I mean, I keep coming back to like maybe a comic strip or something like that. Even using, because you could, I don't know. I'm lost. Sorry. I want to print the image, then add other traits like tone. I would have to do a little research on that one.
I'm on Free Tech for Teachers trying to see if I can find the post that Polly just referenced.
I was thinking of Telegami. That was what I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you,
isn't
that animated too, though?
Yeah, it is. It's got an animated avatar.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and you can change the hair color and stuff like that, but you don't get a lot of background. I think you can change. You can put up one background, and I think what I'm remembering is someone who did. Each student did their own avatar. They had their own whatever photo in the background. They talked, and then he spliced them together into a YouTube video. So he played each one sequentially and did like a screencast to record them sequentially. So, but anyways, it's not an animation in the sense that you've got animation going on in the background in cartoons and things like that, but it is an animated avatar.
I mean, I wonder if you want to just look up something like an avatar maker, Molly, and see if there's anything that it's younger child friendly. Because I know you're in elementary. So, I mean, I almost think that might be a way for you to go so that you can print them.
Okay, so by my clock, it is 8:31. I have one last question that came up in the chat, and then I think we're going to have to say goodnight. So this was from Sue Kowalski. She wanted to know, if we produce videos for a project and want to be able to have them unlisted, do either of you know how to go about doing that?
I do. It's right on when you upload the sheet. It's right there. You can click unlisted. It's a selection right when you're uploading the video. Very, very easy to do. I can show you, Sue.
Does it still provide?
When you pick up your stuffed animals.
Does that still provide you a link so that you can allow your students to access it?
Correct. So you can then put the link wherever you want to. The
Awesome.
link doesn't change. It just is not searchable.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Once this is all buffered, it will be available to rewatch on YouTube. So we'll post the link to that on the Facebook group. If you think of additional questions, please always feel free to contact any of us, and we will make sure that the transcript is available as well. All right. So thanks, everybody, and thank you to our experts who rose to the occasion. And I apologize that Richard Byrne did not make it here with us, unfortunately, but I think you guys more than made up for it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Katie. Great job.
Right.
Good job.
Rallying us.
Everybody have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.